let's deep dive into Parks and Rec today.
Sounds good.
You gave us some really interesting stuff on parks and how GIS, that's Geographic Information Systems,
Right.
is being used to like manage them.
Yeah.
We've got excerpts from a YouTube video with some experts and your notes, which kind of hint at even more to discover.
Yeah, definitely.
Should be fun.
Let's break it all down.
I'm really intrigued by how these sources show how the role of parks is changing.
Yeah.
You know, we usually think of them as places for fun, but they're more and more being seen as like essential infrastructure with,
Huge.
big economic and social benefits.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of benefits, one thing that I thought was really interesting was in Dr. Siski's presentation, he said a 10% increase in green space could save a city of 250,000 people, $3.8 million a year in healthcare costs.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
That's a lot. What's the connection there?
It really is fascinating.
The connection has to do with how parks affect public health.
Okay.
The CDC and the World Health Organization, they've found that access to green spaces makes people be more active and reduces stress.
Right.
And both of those lead to a healthier population.
Okay.
So parks are kind of like preventative healthcare.
Oh, interesting.
They're helping reduce the need for expensive medical stuff.
So it's not just about having a nice place to walk your dog.
No.
It's about a healthier community.
Exactly.
And it really makes you think about parks differently. Now, where does GIS fit into all of this?
Yeah.
I see that term everywhere in these sources.
GIS is all about figuring out where things are and how they relate to each other. It's kind of like a digital map. Helps us manage everything in a park, from trees to trash cans. It's about getting that big picture view to make good decisions.
So Jon Snow's presentation really showed that.
Yeah.
Especially when he talked about tree inventories. His description of trying to map out all those trees.
Oh my gosh.
Just from an aerial photo was crazy. It sounded like a logistical nightmare.
Totally. Trying to manage a park without accurate spatial data is like putting together furniture with no instructions.
Right.
GIS is like those instructions. It lets us know where things are, like infrastructure. We can plan new stuff better. And even stop those expensive mistakes. Like, when someone digs up a water pipe because they didn't have the right info.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's...
And speaking of Jon Snow, I thought it was interesting how much he talked about the people doing the work, like their skills.
Yeah, their competency.
Yeah. And he specifically mentioned ISA-certified arborists.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is and why it's so important?
The ISA stands for the International Society of Arboriculture.
Okay.
And they set the professional standards for arborists.
Okay.
It's all about making sure the people taking care of our trees, know what they're doing and can do it safely.
Right.
So that means understanding how trees work, how to spot risks, how to prune them, right?
Okay.
It's not just knowing how to use a chainsaw.
No.
It's about really getting trees.
Gotcha.
And keeping them healthy.
So it's kind of a way to avoid those situations where bad data leads to bad choices.
Exactly.
And that could hurt the trees or even be dangerous.
That's right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And that expertise matters for more than just trees. Think about managing all the stuff in the park, planning new things, or figuring out the environmental impact of building in a park.
Right.
Having a good team with the right training and certifications is super important.
Now, all of this sounds great.
It is.
But I bet it costs a lot.
You're not wrong.
Jon Snow also talked about grants for park projects.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I was surprised to hear there are grants just for this kind of work.
It's true.
Tell me more about that.
You're right. Money's often a big problem for parks. Yeah.
That's why getting grants is key. Jon Snow talked about this framework called SOAP.
Oh.
It stands for Staff, Ordinances, Advocacy, and Plan.
Okay.
And it basically lays out what cities need to have to make their grant applications look good.
Okay.
So having qualified staff, clear rules, support from the community, and a well-thought-out plan. All of that shows that you're serious about using the money well.
So it's not just about having a good idea.
No.
It's about having the structure to back it up.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Right.
What did you think about the different types of grants you mentioned?
You know, it was interesting to hear about all the different things these grants pay for.
Yeah.
There's money out there for everything.
Really?
From planting trees and building trails to educational programs, making things accessible.
Yeah.
It really shows you how many sides there are to parks and how much they can contribute to a good community. And speaking of multifaceted, I was struck by how GIS itself has evolved.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Aido's presentation talked about how it went from this clunky, specialized tool to something much more user-friendly and accessible.
Right. It's so much easier to use now.
Yeah.
He talked about the ArcGIS Field Maps app.
Yeah.
It lets park staff easily collect data.
Like what kind of data?
Oh, all kinds. Tree types, their health, even the condition of park stuff.
Wow.
I loved that story he told about teaching park rangers.
Oh, yeah.
To use the app to record park conditions in real time.
Imagine being able to update info on the fly, whether it's reporting a downed tree, marking a trail closure, or even just saying a park bench needs painting.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really gives everyone involved in the park a chance to add useful data.
It's a huge difference from the days of paper maps and typing everything in by hand.
Yeah.
Getting that data updated instantly changes everything. Faster responses, better decisions, and in the end, a better time for people visiting the park.
Now, we've talked a lot about trees.
We have.
But Jonathan Welker's presentation went bigger, covering like all the stuff in a park.
Yeah, his 3D model of a park was really impressive.
It was.
It showed just how much detail GIS can capture.
Yeah. And it made me wonder, how do you even start to list everything in a park?
It takes a really organized process, starting with careful planning.
Okay.
First, you got to design a database to hold all the important info.
Okay.
Then you go out and collect data in the field using tools like that ArcGIS Field Maps app we talked about.
Right.
And finally, you use software to look at the data and make it visual in ways that make sense.
So it's like making a digital copy of the park.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can see everything, like where the benches are, the picnic tables, the condition of the trails, even the irrigation systems.
It's all there.
What are some of the big advantages of having that level of detail?
Well, it lets you make good decisions about everything.
Okay.
From when to do maintenance to how to use resources to planning new things and getting the community involved.
Okay.
Imagine being able to just easily see which benches need fixing, which trails need resurfacing, or which parts of the park aren't being used much.
Yeah, Welker even showed some examples of dashboards.
He did.
That could track things like the condition of playground equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Or how many acres need mowing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing how GIS can take raw data and turn it into information you can actually use.
It is.
Visualizing data like that makes it way easier to explain complicated stuff to everyone involved, like park staff, city council members, even the public.
For sure. And it's not just about like keeping things running smoothly and doing maintenance.
Right.
We also saw how GIS can be used to address like fairness and equity, making sure parks are accessible to everyone and benefit everyone in the community.
That example of using GIS to figure out which parks to improve based on like social equity factors was really interesting. It reminds us that technology can be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Helping us build communities that are more just and fair.
For sure.
What other ways can GIS help us understand what the community needs when it comes to parks?
Well, GIS can be used to look at demographic data.
Okay.
Like, understanding how people are using the parks and even gathering feedback from the community.
Okay.
For instance, you can overlay maps of park locations with data on things like income levels, population density, and access to transportation.
Right.
This can help pinpoint areas where there aren't enough park resources.
So you could figure out which neighborhoods might need new parks?
Exactly.
Like better access to the ones they already have.
That's right.
I can see how this data could really empower communities to speak up for what they need and make sure parks are serving everyone fairly.
Absolutely. And it's not just about building new parks.
Right.
It's about making existing ones more welcoming and inclusive, too. Okay. GIS can help us figure out how people are using parks now, see which areas might not be used much, and even get feedback on what kind of amenities or programs would work best for the community.
We've been talking a lot about how towns and cities can use GIS.
Right.
But I'm curious, can it also help manage larger park systems?
Oh, definitely.
Like national parks?
Absolutely. In fact, the National Park Service has been using GIS for ages.
Wow.
To manage all kinds of things.
Rick, what?
Everything from wildlife populations to fire risk
Oh, wow.
to visitor traffic and cultural resources.
Okay.
Think about how massive a national park is.
Yeah, like Yellowstone?
Yeah, or Yosemite.
Mm.
GIS lets park managers track animals,
Wow.
monitor how healthy the ecosystems are,
Okay.
and even plan those controlled burns to prevent wildfires.
That's amazing.
It is pretty cool.
It's incredible how this technology can protect these important natural resources
It is.
and make sure they're around for future generations.
Definitely.
I'm remembering Justin Aieto's presentation
Yeah.
where he said that some towns in the western U.S. were developed without thinking much about parks and recreation.
I remember that.
He said it was like haphazard.
He did.
Do you think GIS could help redesign these places?
It definitely has the potential,
Okay.
to better include parks. Yeah, GIS can help planners look at how things are built now, see where there's not enough green space,
Okay.
and even try out different scenarios to see how adding parks might affect things.
Like what kind of things?
Oh, traffic flow.
Air quality.
Even property values.
It's about being more proactive.
Yeah.
And using data to make decisions.
Exactly.
Instead of just squeezing parks in as an afterthought.
Right. It's about weaving them into the community from the start.
Aieto also talked about Atlanta
He did.
as a good example.
Yeah. A city that's done a lot.
To make its urban spaces better and include more parks.
They have.
It sounds like there's hope for those haphazardly developed towns after all.
Absolutely. And Atlanta's not the only one. There are cities all over the world that are using GIS to rethink their urban landscapes and make green space a priority.
So it's about recognizing that parks aren't just like nice to haves.
No.
They're important.
They are.
For our health.
For sure.
And the well-being of our communities. I'm curious, we talked about using cell phone data to see how people are using parks.
Yeah.
How does that actually work? And is it ethical?
That's a really interesting area with
Yeah.
a lot of potential.
Okay.
But yeah, it brings up some important ethical points.
Right.
So basically, you can take anonymous cell phone location data
Okay.
and put it all together
Yeah.
to see how people are moving around.
Okay.
This can tell us a lot about things like how visitors move through the park when it's most crowded
Okay.
and which attractions are popular.
So you can see which trails are getting the most foot traffic,
Exactly.
which picnic areas are always packed,
Yeah.
and even how people are getting around the park.
Yeah. That's right. But like I said, there are ethical things to consider.
Right.
We have to make sure this data is collected and used the right way
Right.
with safeguards in place to protect people's privacy
Of course.
and prevent it from being misused.
Right.
Transparency is key.
Mm-hmm.
Park visitors should know how their data is being used
Yeah.
and have the option to say no if they want to.
Makes sense. It's about finding that balance
It is.
between using technology to learn more about park usage while still respecting everyone's privacy.
Absolutely.
We talk about how GIS can help us see where park assets are,
Yeah.
where visitors are, and even where maintenance is needed.
Right.
I remember someone in the source material, I think it was Gordon White,
Yeah.
talked about tracking park maintenance in real time.
Right. Gordon White from Samsara.
Yeah, that's him.
His company provides these connected operations cloud solutions that work with GIS.
Interesting.
He explained how cities can use their technology to see where vehicles and equipment are.
And what they're doing.
All in real time.
Exactly. All in real time.
He gave that great example of how the city of Memphis used Samsara to find stolen lawnmowers
I remember that.
worth $440,000.
Wow.
That's a pretty convincing argument for real-time tracking.
Right. It's not just about preventing theft, though.
Okay.
Real-time tracking can also help make routes more efficient,
Oh, good.
improve efficiency overall, and even use less fuel.
Okay.
Imagine being able to see exactly where every mowing crew is,
Yes.
how much they've done,
Okay.
and when they need a break.
It's like having a live view of everything happening in the park.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces connect.
It all comes together.
We're talking about a complete approach to park management,
Yeah.
using technology to improve everything from planning and design to maintenance and community involvement.
It really is a holistic approach.
And it all comes down to data.
It does.
Data about where things are,
Right.
what the community needs. Yeah.
How visitors use the park
Uh-huh.
and how well our maintenance crews are doing
It's all about the data.
by collecting this data,
Yeah.
analyzing it,
Mm-hmm.
and making it visual.
We can really understand our parks
Yeah.
and make smarter decisions that benefit everyone.
Exactly. Wow, this has been a real deep dive.
It has.
We've gone from, like the money-saving side of green spaces to like all the details of GIS mapping and like tracking things in real time.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing parks in a whole new way now.
That's great.
It's not just about relaxing. It's like these are complex systems that need planning and management.
They really are.
For someone listening who's like inspired but maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, where would you say they should start?
I'd say start by reaching out to your local Parks and Rec department.
Oh, okay.
Just connect with them.
Yeah.
Find out what kind of data they're collecting.
Okay.
And how they're using it to manage their parks. Like, are they using GIS already? If so, what's working well?
Okay.
What challenges are they facing?
That's a great starting point.
It is.
And I bet there are a ton of resources online, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
For people who want to learn more about GIS and how it's used in parks.
For sure. There are.
We can put some links in the show notes.
Absolutely. Esri, the company behind ArcGIS, has a ton of info on their website, like case studies, tutorials.
Okay.
They even have free online courses.
Wow.
And there are lots of online communities and forums where you can connect with other GIS people and learn from what they're doing.
It's really inspiring to see how this technology is being used to make communities healthier, fairer, and more sustainable.
Absolutely.
As we've been talking, I keep thinking about that quote from Justin Aedo.
Oh, which one?
First we shape our cities, and then they shape us.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's a powerful reminder that the choices we make about our public spaces really affect how we live our lives.
They do.
How we work and how we interact with each other.
It's so true. Parks are more than just green spaces. They're the lungs of our cities.
Yeah.
The places where our communities come together. And where our kids can play.
Yeah.
GIS is a tool that can help us design, manage, and protect these important places so they can keep benefiting people for generations to come.
We've seen how GIS can help us understand how parks are used, track maintenance needs, and even address social equity issues.
Right.
But I'm wondering, looking ahead, what are some of the new trends or technologies
that's a good question.
that you think will shape the future of parks and recreation?
One area that's really exciting is combining sensor technology with GIS.
Oh, okay.
Imagine being able to keep an eye on things like air quality, soil moisture, even noise levels.
Wow, all in real time.
Exactly, all in real time.
That's pretty amazing.
This data could then be used to tweak how the park is run, like turning on sprinklers when the soil gets too dry, or changing maintenance schedules based on how people are using the park.
So it's like giving the park a way to sense and respond to what's going on around it.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's incredible.
Another thing to keep an eye on is using AI and machine learning to manage parks.
Oh, wow.
Imagine using AI to analyze park usage data and predict future trends. So you could use resources better. Or even tailor the park experience for different groups of visitors.
Wow, we're talking about a whole new level of park management.
We are.
It's exciting and a little bit scary to think about all the possibilities.
It is, and just like with any powerful technology, we have to use it responsibly and ethically.
Of course.
Making sure it serves the needs of the community.
Right.
And doesn't accidentally cause problems.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final thought you would leave our listener with?
Let me think.
Something to think about as they maybe head out to their local park.
Okay, I got it.
With a fresh perspective.
I'd encourage our listener to think about this. If you could map anything in your community, what would it be?
Okay.
And how could knowing that make your community a better place?
That's a great question. It really gets you thinking and highlights how powerful it is to think about where things are.
It does.
Well, on that note, I think we've come to the end of our deep dive into the world of parks, trees, and knowing where things are.
It's been fun.
It's been really interesting. And I feel inspired to go explore my local park with like a new appreciation for everything that goes into making it such a great place for our community.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us.